and you tied me to a chair and cut me open.
Are my insides gonna move like my fingerprints?
My mind is cut loose. I can't bear it.
It wasn't destroying. It was making something new.
Oh.
That was you after seeing Men, right? That was the noise you made.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Tell me about Men.
I will tell you about Men, okay? I saw it last week on Friday, or no, it was Saturday probably. But anyway, it was okay. It was a solid. It wasn't that solid actually. I'm lying. I liked it less than that.
Yeah, from what you hinted at, it didn't sound like it was very good.
No, I was really excited going into it because I really like Alex Garland, generally speaking. I mean, the guy, he did Ex Machina and Annihilation, which are like two of the best science fiction movies in the past like decade. Mm-hmm. So, and you don't get very many good science fiction movies. So I was like really looking forward to this one. Just even if it's not science fiction, I was just like, oh, this guy's great. I'll watch anything he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't like it too much. Didn't like it that much.
From what I've been reading, is people are either like, it's pretty good, or there are people who are like, that was dog shit. And I haven't seen much in between, and I haven't seen anyone really like overly praising it.
Yeah. I thought this while watching it, but do you know how like there's a famous quote by Tom Holland where he's talking about making like a Jack and Dexter like A24
yeah,
movie?
he's like I want a Jack and Dexter but A24, so it's weird. Yeah. And it's like, shut the fuck up, you little boy. I hate that guy.
This is like what Tom Holland thinks an A24 movie is.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like weird for no reason at all, and there's not much plot things going on that make all the weird stuff make sense.
Gotcha.
To happen. Mm-hmm. It's like there's like an extended sequence near the end that is like it would be like really just disturbing and good if it wasn't a better movie. Like that scene by itself in a vacuum, I like, but in the rest of the movie, it like gets really surreal at the end for like no reason at all. There's like no reason for it to happen based on everything we've seen so far.
So is this one of those cases where this would be a better short film?
Oh yeah,
that they just kind of stretched to a full feature length.
Yeah, I could definitely see this being a better short film and it's also such a limited idea for a movie. Because I feel like when I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, I know what this movie is going for. It's called Men. There's a bunch of creepy dudes in the trailer who all look the same. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, I can see what they're going for and what they're trying to do. And the main character's like a woman, so I was like, all right. And I'm fine with them doing that kind of a message, but you just have to like, I don't know. When I go to see a movie like that and knowing like kind of what they're going for going in, I'm expecting to get some kind of unique perspective by the end of it. Or like they elaborate further or they show me some new like way of looking at this particular issue.
Right.
And like I didn't feel like I got that at all. It's the ending was just building up to revealing like men can be horrible in society and to women.
So it's like the patriarchy and toxic masculinity and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it like, that was like basically there's more to it than just that, but I mean, that seemed to be like what the movie was focused on being about.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you feel the same, but like, it's like, I just want, when I see a movie like that, I want to be like shown a new perspective in some way, or like,
oh, I get you.
Be like introduced to like a new idea, and like that felt like it didn't really elaborate on that idea any more than that, and I felt like it needed to. And yeah, and also and like I said before, the movie just is a bunch of weird shit for no reason, in editing, in the filming of it, that like doesn't make sense.
It seemed like it wanted to be like a Charlie Kaufman film, something like Thinking of Ending Things, but a horror movie. But that just doesn't seem very good in execution.
No, I haven't seen a Charlie Kaufman film, I don't think.
You're missing out. You should watch everything. No, fuck. I'm Thinking of Ending Things because it has that same lead actress.
Oh, does it? Oh, it's the same
Yeah.
lady. Okay. Huh. Yeah, she was good in
I like her a lot. She's really good. She was in Chernobyl. She's great in that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I have to watch Chernobyl too. I'm like behind so many TV shows. Good lord.
You're behind on culture.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I don't discount the actors in the movie either, because they all do an extremely good job.
Yeah.
Like her especially, and then also Rory Kinnear, because he plays like all these different roles in it, like all these different men. He even plays a boy at one point. And it's the only time I'm okay with them CGIing a face onto somebody.
Oh, they like CGI'd the head on him, a little boy?
Yeah, like his head onto like a little boy's body.
That's what they do in George Lopez.
What?
For flashbacks.
Really?
Yeah, whenever it's a flashback, they just take George Lopez's current sized head and just put it on like a boy. So it's like this tiny boy with this huge head.
That's hilarious.
I mean, I'm sure they do it better than that, but
well, yeah, and like they didn't like, you know how like when that happens, it's always like you feel something wrong in your gut, it's like uncanny valley.
Yeah.
But that worked to the movie's favor because I mean, it's like a creepy scene, and like you see him and like just something not right about the look of him, and it actually worked out really well. Unlike when like Marvel does it. Or like Captain America or She-Hulk.
I think a good example is like how David Lynch uses like CG, where it's like not very realistic or very good. Yeah. But in that world and in that kind of moment, it feels very okay.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely what I thought they were going for with that. Yeah, but I won't go into spoilers or anything with it. I think it's worth a watch. It wasn't horrible. It was okay. So I know you were still trying to see it. So
yeah,
I'm not going to spoil anything too much.
So now I think I'm not going to see it in theaters. I'll wait a bit. But I do want to eventually see it.
There's some cool stuff in it. I will say that. Like that like really surreal scene near the end is like. It's like cool as an idea.
I think Alex Garland's really good at building up to an ending.
Yeah,
I think that's one of his strong points.
Yeah, it's like what this movie we're going to talk about today, I feel like has a really strong ending that he kind of builds up to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're going to talk about another Alex Garland smash hit film called Annihilation, starring Natalie Portman. And this is a movie that I think we saw originally in theaters when it came out.
Because I remember we were like, okay, this is the movie, and then the last 20 minutes happened, and we were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember when this movie came out, a lot of like people, like dads that went to see it, because they're like, "Ooh, a sci-fi movie with an all-girl cast? Oh, hubba, And then they get some weird, almost body horror, abstract surrealism that isn't very explained.
No, not at all.
And people are like, "Well, that fucking sucked." And I think we were the only people probably in that theater that was like, that fucking ruled.
Yeah. Yeah, my jaw was like on the floor for the whole ending. Because it was like, up to that point, I'd never seen like a super surreal like film in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
Where like, and like and at that point, I think I'd already watched David Lynch and like loved it. Like I've seen The Return and
So you
like,
can
a bunch of his other
appreciate
movies.
stuff like that more.
Yeah,
Your mind is more
exactly.
susceptible to it.
Yeah. So I was just like, I'm so glad I'm seeing this in the theater right now. I was like, I'm so glad I'm seeing Natalie Portman dance with a silver person for 10
With
minutes.
Silver Surfer.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of wanted to go into the background of this movie because it's kind of interesting. So this film, it's written and directed by Alex Garland, but it's also based on a book by Jeff Vandermeer,
Okay.
and I guess it's also called Annihilation as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the author of the book actually wrote it to be a trilogy, but immediately sold the rights to make it as a film, even when I don't even think the book was done yet.
Oh, so the book wasn't even out?
No, yeah, I think it came out eventually, but he was working with Alex Garland throughout the writing of it so Alex would figure out the themes of it, and so the movie is not a direct one-to-one adaptation of the book. There's a lot of different stuff in it, but it has the same type of themes.
So Garland kind of took what they had and kind of ran his own thing with it?
Yeah, that's my understanding of it.
That's pretty cool.
And the author worked with him and okayed it all the way. So I mean, I thought it was kind of cool that the author was that willing to let someone take that much creative liberty with his own IP.
Yeah, that doesn't happen a lot.
No. And another thing that's interesting about it too is the author intended it to be a trilogy when he wrote the first book, but Alex did not intend this to the movie to have any sequels at all when he made it.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of ended up working out for both of them. I feel like I haven't read the book, but I'm sure it's good if it's anything like the movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little interesting production background. Yeah, and then this unfortunately had a really bad reception at the box office.
I remember that.
Yeah. It did not make its budget back at all by $10 million. It grossed $43 million against a $55 million budget. Yeah.
And it's usually more than that plus advertising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's probably more like 70 something million.
Oh yeah. I don't remember how much this was advertised back then, but they had to have dumped a bunch
I remember
of
it
money
was
into
it was around. I remember I would see commercials for it.
Oh,
but
damn.
I think it kind of flopped the same way Robert Eggers films flop, like The Witch. Where it's very appealable to normal audiences.
Yeah.
So that first weekend everyone goes to see it. And then those people can't really comprehend it or they don't really appreciate it. And then they go tell everyone at work, school, whatever, just not to go see it. And it's a waste of time. And then no one goes and sees it. Because I think that's what happens with every Robert Eggers film.
Yeah. I could definitely see that happening with something like The Northman, where the trailers and stuff appeal to a general audience. And then people go to see it opening weekend, they're like, what the fuck was that?
And I think A24, bless their hearts, is very big victim of that, where they really make their movies appealable to a wide audience. And I almost feel like they're forced to. Because how can you sell some of those concepts? You know?
Right.
Imagine being the guy that has to okay, here's Under the Skin. Make dads want to go see it. You know? Scarlett Johansson just drives around for an hour. Doesn't talk. Go sell that. You know?
Right.
So I don't blame him, but yeah, I think Alex Garland, at least with this film, is kind of falling victim to that.
Yeah, I could definitely see this film being marketed in a broad way, especially with Natalie Portman and a whole cast of all female soldier scientist people.
when you tell like the base plot of the movie, it sounds like a pretty general science fiction thing. You know, alien thing crashes down, creates a strange new world, affects the creatures, the environment, and a team of 4 women have to go in to figure out what's going on. Like it's pretty. It's a pretty easy to digest plot.
Yeah, definitely. And it gets interesting in the execution of it, which is kind of cool. But yeah, then I guess after the poor reception, I didn't remember this, but a month later, they sold the rights to Netflix like almost immediately in March, and it came out in February. So like after that, they just dumped it onto Netflix.
That might have been like the first movie to start that trend then, because I feel like it's more and more common now. It's like after the theater run, what streaming service is going to offer us the most money for this?
Yeah, and that theater run, by the way, was only in North America and China, I think.
Wow.
So, and I guess they were just waiting to see how it did before they went to other countries. And once they saw it flop, they're like, Netflix, let's go.
I do remember when Hideo Kojima saw it because you posted on Twitter about it nonstop for a week.
Really?
And I was like, yeah, of course Kojima would like this.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think both of us really, really enjoy this movie.
I like it. You like it a lot. I know that.
Yeah. I like love it.
You've made me agree that it's a horror movie. just so you can talk about this right now.
I feel like it's as much of a horror movie as The Witch is to me.
Rewatching it, I get that vibe more. There's a couple of scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think of other movies that kind of are on that borderline.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be fun. I wrote some movies down here that I think are borderline, could be a horror, could fall into thriller, could fall into suspense. And I'm gonna see what you think. And I'm pretty sure you've seen all of these movies.
Oh, okay.
So I'm curious. Silence of the Lambs.
Oh.
That's commonly called a horror movie.
Yeah.
Would you put that in horror?
I would.
I would.
I mean, it's a horror thriller.
Because especially like the ending.
But yeah, definitely.
All right.
And, all the Buffalo Bill stuff too. Yeah, I'd say that's a horror.
That one I definitely agree with. Okay.
Yeah.
Under the Skin.
Yes, definitely horror.
Yeah, I would give it that. It doesn't have
I didn't
like
even think about that one.
It's just like body horror, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to pitch it as a horror movie, but when you're watching it and your skin is crawling, you're like, okay. This one baffles me.
Okay.
Parasite.
No. What?
If you go on Hulu right now, it is under the horror category.
That makes no sense to me at all.
Same. The only thing I can think of is there's one terrifying shot of when it's like that flashback of the kid eating the cake.
Oh,
and that man.
Yeah.
That is like the only scary thing. And I'll give Bong Joon-ho credit. Like he doesn't necessarily make like genre films.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not think that's a horror movie. And I'm pretty lenient on what I consider a horror movie, and I don't think that is.
No, that's baffling to me. Isn't it? It's on Hulu, categorized as
it's
that?
under horror.
That's bizarre.
Yeah,
that's really bizarre.
This one I have had people that I've shown this film to tell me it's not a horror movie, and I consider it a horror movie, and it's actually one of my favorites. Is Green Room.
Oh, that's totally a horror movie.
Okay, thank you. Some people are like, no, it's more of a thriller.
No.
And I'm like, well, if that's a thriller, then I Saw the Devil's a thriller. But that's clearly a horror movie. All right.
Yeah, what would it be? Oh, a thriller, I guess? But
yeah, like suspense, crime, thriller. I don't know. No. It's scary. It's a scary movie.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Just that scene where that guy gets his arm cut up through the door is fucking horrifying.
I can never get that image out of my brain.
Right? It's brutal.
All right. And finally, Donnie Darko.
Uh oh, that one's tough.
Actually
I'm
just
bordering on
rewatched
saying
this.
it's a horror.
I would
but-
consider it horror,
Yeah.
but when you add it all together, I think it's more than that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could put it in a horror, but that would be like the subcategory.
Oh, okay.
If
That makes sense.
But it's definitely more like a psychological drama, I think. But I see that categorized. Like, I see like Frank the Rabbit when like there's like pictures of like all the horror icons, like he's there. And I'm like, I don't think he really fits in with like Michael Myers and Chucky. You know? But people put him on that pedestal. And I'm like, yeah, Frank's great, but like he's not really like that. That's not his deal, you know?
It's definitely not as schlocky as like other horror like slasher movie villains.
No.
It's like he does not deserve to be in there.
I think it's just aesthetically, I think the same group of people kind of like that. So
I can see that.
All right. I just wanted to give you a little thing. I just wanted to see your thoughts because you've I guess convinced me that Annihilation is a horror movie.
I do. I think I was even more confident about it while rewatching it today.
I agree. When you first told me you want to do this, I was like, but then as I was watching it, I was like, okay, you won.
Yeah.
And then it got me thinking about other ones that I was like, if on the fence about, or I've seen people be like on the fence about. So.
Yeah, because I feel like this movie, because you know how in The Witch, it's like a constant building of like dread.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie does a very similar thing to that, where there's not a lot of like immediate horror scenes.
It just builds up.
But like, yeah, constantly I feel like even at the beginning of the movie, there's a sense of uneasiness that kind of just gets amplified as you go along.
And
it's like,
I think it helps that you're following Natalie Portman's character through like a very tough time.
Yeah.
And I realized why you like this movie. Because you love your character movies.
I do.
I was watching this and I forgot how focused it was on like Natalie Portman for like all the flashbacks. I'm like, oh, that fuck. That's why he likes this. That's why he likes this movie so much.
It's true. Character-driven sci-fi is like, that's like, I will like it most of the time.
Yeah. So I just thought that was funny. I realized like something like synapses clicked in my brain. I was like, oh, that's why he likes this movie so much.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen Ex Machina, but
I have. Yes, I like Ex Machina.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good one. That's very character-driven as well. But it's not really a horror movie. I wanted to do an Alex Garland episode just because the Man was coming out, and like, but I was trying to figure out which movie would be better, and I just figured Annihilation because I feel like that leans a lot more into horror than Ex Machina does.
There are definitely two scenes that I would consider straight horror, and that is the bear scene and that like found footage scene.
Oh yeah.
That is just I'd say
all the found footage scenes are like
true. Yeah, there is that final
horrific.
one. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is it's a great stacked cast. We got like Natalie Portman as the main character, named Lena. Jennifer Jason Leigh as Dr. Ventress.
I love Jennifer Jason Leigh. I feel like she is very underrated.
She is.
She's great in everything she's in.
Yeah. My first exposure to her was in season 3 of Twin Peaks.
Oh, really?
And then from there I saw her in like Hateful Eight and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm like,
she always just shows
really
up.
Yeah.
She's just there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. She's in this. Nice.
Give her a leading role in something. Good God. She deserves it.
Yeah, she's in Good Time, too.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, Robert Pattinson's like girlfriend.
Yeah, that weird girlfriend that just gives him money.
Yeah. That's another good movie. Then we have Gina Rodriguez as the character Anya, who I guess she's in like that TV show Jane the Virgin, which I've never seen before.
Sure. I'm just gonna agree with you.
And then we've got Tuta Novotny as Cass, one of our other set of main characters. And then finally Oscar Isaac as Kane, who plays the like husband of Lena.
Mm-hmm.
Who, I mean, you can't not love a movie with Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac
I mean,
is
that's
great.
me. Yeah.
I question his more recent roles, but
yeah.
he is great. I'm sold. Like, you just tell me Oscar Isaac's the lead, I'm in.
Right? Yeah, I've heard that movie Inside Llewyn Davis is really good.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta watch that one too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this had a really good stacked cast, which I think for me actually is something I wanted to talk about. I kind of wish they casted it differently, because like I'm not a huge fan of Natalie Portman in this movie for some reason.
Really?
Yeah,
I think she's great.
She does a good enough job.
I
was just
Natalie
thinking
Portman.
like how much better it could have been if she was like a lesser known actor.
Oh, okay. Sure.
I don't know. It's like it's hard for me to like completely buy her as the character because I just see her.
You just
I
see Natalie
her.
Portman.
Yeah.
Sounds like a you problem, buddy.
It is a me problem because I don't see the same with Oscar Isaac for some reason.
Yeah.
Or I don't care as much about
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I don't think Oscar Isaac necessarily plays a character. He's more of sort of Lena's motivation.
Yeah, definitely. You get a good idea of what his personality was like before
Mm-hmm.
the big event of this movie, but like, yeah, he's definitely there mostly to, you have a lot of interesting stuff going on with Lena's character, the main character. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to go into complete spoilers now, or do you want to give your thoughts on it?
I'll give my thoughts.
Yeah.
I like this movie a lot. I will admit I don't love it as much as you do.
Mm-hmm.
I do like all the horror parts. The bear scene has always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Especially when he like gets really close and when he like opens his mouth, it's like the woman screaming. And that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, that's nightmare fuel.
I like one thing I really like about this movie is the music. It's like all acoustic.
Yeah.
And it gave me very Last of Us vibes because Last of Us does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like contradicting, I think, which fits really well. I think it adds a lot of harmony to something that's very scary.
Yeah.
But in context of, I guess, what's going on, it's also very natural.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing I do, probably my biggest complaint is the lens flares. My man Alex, he needs to turn them down. I felt like I was watching a J.J. Abrams movie. There's just so many lens flares.
I can agree with that. I also felt like watching it this time, I feel like there was a lot more obvious post-production editing going on than when I saw it before. Because like when they get to this place they call the Shimmer in the movie, a lot of the movie gets like gets really bright and like overexposed.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can tell it's like a digital effect and they didn't actually shoot it like that. It didn't look all that great, but I mean it was fine.
It would have been cooler if they did, I guess, more practical effects there.
Right.
But, I mean, you know how fucking expensive it would be to do that.
Yeah,
that'd be probably like their entire budget.
And it's probably hard to convince the studio head to like keep funding the movie if they're sending dailies and all the shots are like overexposed.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and I mean I get like they wanted it to be really like pretty, almost like it's so like good looking, like you can't look away, yet you know it's something really evil and sinister.
Mm-hmm.
I just some of it looking back is very not that it's bad.
No,
it's just
works.
noticeable.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
One thing I think I do like the most of it is because it reminds me a bit of my all-time favorite movie, which is Stalker, which is essentially these three men who go into what's called the Zone, which is a area created by something falling from the sky and having mysterious effects on the land.
So it's literally Stalker.
It is Stalker, but a bit less existential.
Okay.
Because Stalker, they know what's in the center, right? They know when they get to the room in the center, your most subconscious desire will be fulfilled. And the thing about the Zone is that these people called Stalkers basically studied it, and they've worked with it, and they know how to traverse it. Okay. So there's no real straight paths, yet there's no one way to get to it. It's entirely situational. It entirely determined by your intentions, by your heart, where your mindset is. So there's so many like different ways it could go wrong. Yeah, and even the Stalker does not fully understand the Zone, but he knows how to traverse it. So it's a bunch of cool shit like that. But Annihilation, I think, would essentially be almost, I guess, the beginning of Stalker. Like, if something were to crash and create some form of mysterious zone, and a team was going in to explore it, it would probably be more like that.
Yeah.
But the whole concept of it is very similar to Stalker.
Oh, okay.
And that was like a lot of the vibes I was getting, especially as they all sort of start to kind of lose their mind.
Yeah.
Because essentially Stalker, you just have a scientist, a writer who represents like the artist, and then the Stalker who represents like spirituality and like connection with nature. So you have these three very, I guess, rivaling worldviews all come together in a really high stress situation. And they all kind of get at each other and completely destroy each other's basically life outlook. But this in Annihilation, you don't have that. You just have monsters.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Yeah.
You know,
that works out.
But I mean, I do appreciate it as kind of like a little nod, you know, a little tip of the hat to Stalker. I mean, maybe because you said it was actually written by this author, maybe he was a fan of Stalker, because Stalker is actually, before Tarkovsky did his, it was actually a short story.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah, okay. Maybe he was a fan of the book. Maybe he was a fan of the movie. I don't know.
Yeah, it had to be.
But it's more of a sci-fi Stalker, I guess I would say, is how I would explain Annihilation. So, I mean, I like it a lot. I think this Annihilation is good. I 100% would recommend it to anybody. This honestly movie kind of reminds me of Predator.
Oh, okay.
Where the movie kind of changes into something else midway through.
Yeah.
Where like when Predator came out, all these dads were like, "Oh yeah, cool, new Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. He's in the war. He's gonna shoot people," and then it turns into like an alien movie. And all the dads were like, "What the hell? What's going on? I thought he was just gonna kill some people. Oh, there's an alien?
I don't want any of this sci-fi
I don't
crap.
want any of this sci-fi garbage. What the hell?" You know? So I feel like this does that.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
But let's get into spoilers.
Sure, right? Let's do it.
So if you haven't seen it, go find a way to watch Annihilation. I don't think it's streaming anywhere right now.
Not that I saw anywhere.
Unfortunately. It's worth a buy though. I feel like if you like sci-fi, and it is, I would say, semi-body horror-ish. There are body horror elements.
Yeah, definitely go see this movie if you haven't before you listen to us talk about spoilers.
Yeah, because this movie, it's one of those movies where once you see the ending, you'll probably want to watch it again knowing what you know.
Right. Yeah.
Because you can look at the movie with a completely different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we start with our main character, Lena, who is getting interrogated by these men in these hazmat suits. And we find out pretty quickly that this is actually the end of the movie. Which kind of remind me of like Denis Villeneuve stuff, like Arrival kind of does that as well.
Yeah, I compared this movie and Arrival like pretty. They're like very similar.
Very similar.
Setup wise.
Yeah. And essentially we learned that Natalie Portman went through something and she is the only survivor. And we then do kind of like a flashback to her current life. She's like a professor, a biologist. And we find that her husband has died or has gone missing for the last year. In the war, she just assumed he's dead. And Lena here has been having an affair with another one of the professors.
Oh my god.
If you could call it an affair, right? Because he's dead. Well, no, wait, she was banging him even with Oscar Isaacs around, right?
Oh yeah. They were. I think it's implied that she, whenever he goes off on his like military missions, that she shacks up with this guy.
Come on, you got Oscar.
I know, that's my thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not women. We don't understand. We can't put ourselves in their shoes.
Yeah,
so
that
very
dude, he's got a jawline that would give Bruce Campbell a run for his money.
Yeah.
A very, very structured jawline.
When I was watching this movie, my girlfriend was just only watching the parts of Oscar Isaac.
Really?
Yeah, she was like, ooh, Oscar. And she'd come in and watch, and then he'd go off the screen, and she'd kind of just get up and walk away. That was the same when we watched Dune, too. Every time, like, Oscar was on the screen, I could feel her, like hand clench my arm. Like, tighter. She's like, oh. She's like, look at that beard. And I was like, yeah. He's a good-looking dude.
Oh, my God. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so... she is at home, and I think at this point she's finally moving on because she's painting the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of took that as her, kind of redoing her life, maybe putting memories behind. And then guess who shows up? The man himself, Oscar Isaacs, who has been dead for a year.
Yeah.
And she's like freaking out. She's like asking him questions and he's not telling her anything. And almost like it's genuinely like he doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
It almost feels like that's kind of what he's like conveying. And then he starts getting a nosebleed and starts like getting dizzy. So she calls an ambulance. On the ambulance ride, he is, I think they say he's having a seizure.
Mm-hmm.
But then a bunch of armored cars stop the ambulance with guns and pull Oscar out and knock out Natalie Portman. And she wakes up in kind of a spooky laboratory room where we're then introduced to Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, who is the psychologist. And I guess she's kind of running the whole thing. And
yeah, I would say so.
She's asking Natalie Portman all these questions, like how long has your husband been back? Has he contacted you since? Blah, blah, all this stuff. Natalie Portman's kind of putting all the pieces together, like, these aren't police. This is probably something bigger. And then they show her that basically she's on the edge. Do they even say, like, where it is in the States?
Not that I remember. I don't think they said it where it was.
Considering it was swampy, it would
wrong.
have to be somewhere like more south, maybe like Louisiana or something.
Yeah. That sounds right.
But essentially, something has fallen from the sky and crashed into this lighthouse and created this sort of zone, as you will, which is changing the animals, the air, the wildlife, and it's slowly spreading. And it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And they said it's months until it reaches their laboratory, which is on the edge of the shimmer, as they call it. And they said it's only a matter of time before it spreads and basically takes over the state, the country, and then the world. So Natalie Portman meets these other women who she finds out are going to go into the shimmer tomorrow. And Natalie Portman starts to realize that her husband went in there and made it out, which hasn't happened before. Everyone who has gone in has never come back. And they don't even know if they're dead or not. They just go in and they don't come out. Which, another thing, very similar to Stalker. But
I gotta watch Stalker now.
watch
Jeez.
Stalker. It's my favorite movie of all time. We can have a Stalker episode.
Is that on HBO?
It is on HBO. I think they just
Nice.
added it.
Hell yeah.
Watch it. If not, I'll let you borrow my Criterion collection.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. So Natalie Portman meets these three women. All of them are various different scientists. Basically, their theory is they've always sent men in, and it hasn't worked out. What if we send in a women team?
Right. And also the men they sent in previously were primarily military guys.
They're all military dudes.
So now they're like, okay, what if we send in a bunch of people who are primarily scientists and smart people, and let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. So they send a team, and we find out that Jennifer Jason Leigh is going to be leading this team. And her reason being is that basically they have been here for years and have nothing to show for it.
Right.
So she's like, basically, fuck it, I'm going in, and we are going to figure this out.
Yeah, and at that point in the movie, I guess, at least I took the implication that maybe she feels bad for all the teams that she sent in there who haven't come back.
Say that, yeah. She's like, I've picked, because she's the one that picks the people to go in. Yeah. And she's like, no one's come out, so she sent all these people to die. So she wants to kind of go in, maybe a bit of revenge, maybe a bit of kind of making up. So that's her reasoning. Mm-hmm. And Natalie Portman's like, I'm going in with you guys.
Yeah.
Because she wants to figure out what's wrong with her husband.
Right. And she also is, but another part of her motivation is that she has a theory going on that her husband actually knew about the cheating when he last left. Because their last meeting together is shown, and it's like he's very cold to her and doesn't kiss her. He says he loves her, but he just kind of gets up and leaves abruptly. Mm-hmm. And I think she feels super guilty about that, and she says that she owes it to him, at one point to do that. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So they go in the next day. They go through the shimmer, and we don't see much. We just see Natalie Portman waking up. And they basically have camp. However, their food rations shown that they've been there for 3 days. And none of them even remember setting up camp. Mm-hmm. They just remember going in. And so they're like, okay, that's weird. Let's keep moving. So they eventually go and they find what was, I guess, the old base for their operation before the shimmer took that. And there is where they find where one of the teams must have gone missing or died or whatever happened to them, because there was a bunch of like writing on the wall. All their gear was there. And that is where they find a video, which is where I think the horror element kind of comes in play, of Oscar Isaacs on the video. And he is cutting a man's stomach open. And they're peeling his skin back, and you see the guy's insides moving like worms. And they're like black too. It's not even like intestines. Like it looks like an eel is in him. Yeah, it literally looks like that.
It's pretty horrifying.
Yeah, and part of what makes this scene so horrifying for me is that Oscar Isaac's expression is like, if like someone was like, I don't know, they were like dissecting like a frog.
Yeah.
It's like something like is interesting to them, and they're like, yeah, it's so weird. It's so creepy.
Yeah, like almost like not really like a mad scientist, but just like this man he's cutting into is not alive, like despite him screaming.
Right, yeah.
And the way he peels it back is so like crude. Right,
yeah. Like he just wants to get in there and see what's in there like as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's weird. He's like smiling. Yeah, it's creepy.
So this is when the kind of mania gets set into all of their minds and they start freaking out. Mm-hmm. So Natalie Portman sees on a chalkboard that the previous team had set up night shift to guard them while the others sleep. So she's like, hey, we don't know what's out there. Maybe that's a good idea. So they do that. And then in the middle of the night, Natalie Portman goes to Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is on the night duty, and she's just like, hey, like we're this many days from the lighthouse. We should go hit up this like little town that we evacuated earlier, and then we can hit the lighthouse in like 2 days. And they're like, great, cool. And then they hear something. So one of the other girls comes out, and she's like, what's that? Then out of nowhere, bam, bear grabs her, drags her away. Everyone's freaking out. It's the middle of the night. They can't see anything. And then they start blaming Natalie Portman, thinking that she had something to do with that girl getting carried away.
Right.
And this is where basically they kind of set a divide between Natalie Portman and Jennifer Jason Leigh on a team, and then the other two women. Mm-hmm. And basically they're like, okay, whatever, we don't like each other, but the fastest way, like it took us like 6 days to get here, it's only 2 days to the lighthouse, we might as well just go.
Yeah.
So they all agree. They go to they get to that town they were talking about, and then in the middle of the night, one of the girls, who it's presumed was pretty good friends with the girl that got taken by the bear, mm-hmm. Basically knocks everybody out, ties them up to a chair, holds them hostage, and then as she's going the spiel of monologuing, she's like, I'm gonna cut you guys open to see if you guys are infected. That's when she hears a noise. She goes outside, and sure enough, it's the bear.
He's back.
This is probably the most memorable scene of the film. I know, like, when it came out, everyone was talking about this, like, because it's like a zombie bear. Like, half of his face is like a skull. It's really cool. And when he growls, or like, I don't know, bears don't bark. What noise do bears make?
They roar.
They roar. That's the word. That's a strong word. It's a strong word for a bear. Yeah, good job. When he roars, it makes the scream of like his victims. Like he assimilated them into himself. So he's like getting up in their face, and you just hear like these women screaming every time he opens his mouth. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Then he starts attacking everyone. Eventually one of them's able to get a gun and just fucking shoot his face with 100 bullets. And he dies. Then in the morning, I think Natalie Portman has kind of put the pieces together that essentially all the cells of everything, the plants, the animals, even themselves, are constantly dividing.
Right.
And multiplying. And the DNA, so normally I guess you can't breed animals that aren't in the same species, very similar to like flowers and stuff like that. However, whatever's happening in the shimmer is. So everything is kind of combining into one thing.
Right. And I think one of the characters says at one point, it's like shooting light through like a prism.
Yeah.
Or like it gets like refracted, and everything kind of gets blended together. Mm-hmm. And like that's kind of similar to what's happening in the shimmer, where it's like everything that you're near, you kind of merge your DNA with whatever other living organism is there.
Yeah, because she took like a sample from a plant and had human DNA in it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, which is pretty creepy.
Yeah. And eventually that causes one of the last three girls to go mad. And it's a pretty cool shot. I didn't really I guess notice this the first time I watched it, but she basically says, hey, I don't want to die by any mutant bears. I don't want to starve to death. I'm just kind of going to accept the shimmer.
Right.
And she's walking, and as she's walking, you see her start to grow like flowers. And she goes like out into the forest, and Natalie Portman chases after her, and then the girl's just gone. And it's safe to assume she became kind of a part of it, because there's like all these like flower people.
Yeah.
They're like these plants that are human shaped. So I assume she just became one of those.
Yeah, what I like about that is that it doesn't explicitly reveal which one she is.
Yeah, she's just one of like the many.
Yeah.
And it's
cool.
safe to assume that's like either the people that went in or maybe the people that couldn't get evacuated. Something along those lines. Into. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So finally Natalie Portman makes it to the beach, and there's all these cool like glass like palm trees almost, I would describe them as.
Oh yeah.
I would assume, I don't know, maybe that's something with the sand, because you know sand you heat it up and it makes glass.
Yeah.
I'm not
that's
a chemist.
What I assumed as
I'm
well.
not smart. But she gets to the lighthouse and she sees basically a giant hole that's in line with where like the comet or whatever crashed into, that goes underground. But in that lighthouse room, she sees a burnt body with like basically like the background, like the wall is burned around them, which reminded me of like Philip Jeffries in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. You know, when he like appears in that hotel.
Oh,
screaming.
Yeah.
That's what I thought of. But and she sees a tripod of a camera, so she watches it. Turns out it's her boy, Oscar. And Oscar, he almost sounds like a crazy person. Like he's like rambling on. And I didn't notice the first time I watched, but actually if you pay attention, you see his shadow and there's another person's shadow behind him.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so it's like someone behind the camera.
Oh, that's creepy.
And Oscar basically takes a phosphorus grenade, sits down and pulls the pin and just burns alive. And then as he's burning, we see him walk into frame.
Yes.
And that's when it clicks. You're like, oh, the Oscar that came back is not the Oscar Isaacs.
Yeah.
So Natalie Portman's like, all right, I got to go in that hole. She goes in the hole, and that's where Jennifer Jason Leigh is, and she's just kind of rambling to herself. And you can see it. It's like you can't really, it's hard to tell because it's not really in focus, but her face is kind of like one blob.
Yeah, she has like no eyes.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And then she just fucking explodes with light. Or whatever.
Yeah.
And from her forms like this silver man. And it's actually really cool. I like the part where Natalie Portman immediately just starts shooting him and the bullets go through him and like spiral, but they're still like connected to him.
Yeah, that was
so he has
really,
like all these like
cool
branches coming from him. And she's like, fuck it, I'm out of here. So she runs up the hole. He's chasing after her. And then she's about to get out and he slams her against the wall. And as she's struggling, like the more the thing is like pushing against her. And that's when she realized it's like mimicking her. Mm-hmm. So she like eases up and so does it. And she starts like doing movement and it's like perfectly mimicking her. And that's where she kind of gets it, you know?
Right.
It clicks for her what's going on. But one thing that's so creepy about this scene is like the silver thing doesn't seem malicious at all. It just seems very curious.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't seem actively trying to harm her at all.
Yeah, because there's like a part where she falls down, and then because she like tries to get out, and he like throws her down, and then he like quickly gets on the ground to mimic exactly how she's laying down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he's trying to learn how to be human, or to be her.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Natalie Portman's like, okay, I have an idea. So she takes another one of those phosphorus grenades, gets real close to him, and then like pulls the pin and just kind of hands it to the thing, and then runs away.
Yeah.
And then boom, it blows up, and it's pretty horrifying because like at that moment it became Natalie Portman.
Oh,
and
yeah.
his face is like slowly melting away.
Yeah, like you get a shot of the copy of her, the doppelganger, as the door is closing, and she's just kind of burning, and you just see like her skin is like coming off, and and
it's just standing there.
Yeah.
So,
and it looks as a very like shocked and kind of sad expression.
Yeah, like sad and
face.
confused.
Yeah,
like it doesn't know why she did that.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of runs out of the lighthouse, and the lighthouse goes up in flames. It's safe to say it burns everything in there.
Yeah, because I think the doppelganger seems to be purposefully burning the whole thing.
Yeah,
like it's like rubbing its hands on the walls and like just letting the whole thing aflame. It goes down to the hole, and like that whole thing goes up in flames. It's like that's all the source of this shimmer that is going on. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, it seems like he was.
Right.
And whatever's in that hole.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we go back to back where she's getting interrogated. And he's like, yeah, like after that lighthouse burned down, everything was cool again. So you can go see your husband now. So she goes and is like, I know what you are. And they hug, and then we see that her eyes turn like that kind of alienish. So we know like she's infected, or it is still in her DNA.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever that exactly means. And that's where it ends.
Yep. It's a great ending.
So break it down for me, Brad. What do you think that's all about?
I have a theory.
All right, give me your theory. This is what I'm here for.
Okay. Well, I think obviously this movie, it deals a lot with like themes of grief.
Yes.
But I think the primary theory, and it's something that every character is going through and at some stage or another, is self-destruction.
Yes. Yeah, that word is commonly like brought up a lot.
Yeah, like I mean, Natalie Portman not only was self-destructing in the Shimmer by choosing to go in the Shimmer, which is basically a suicide mission for all they know.
Yeah.
But outside of that, she was self-destructing her marriage by sleeping with that guy while Oscar Isaac was off on other missions. Oscar Isaac's character self-destructs.
He chose to go on these missions.
Right, yeah, he
willingly
chose to go on this specific suicide mission after finding out that I don't reveal it explicitly, but I think it's pretty clear he knows that it was she's cheating mission on him.
Yeah. And like one of the girls was a drug addict or an alcoholic.
Yes. Yeah.
Jennifer Jason Leigh, it turns out she was going through cancer, and she knew she didn't have long to live. That's why she went to this mission.
Right. Yeah. She just had nothing left to lose at that point by going in. Yeah, and then the Tessa Thompson character, she's been like cutting herself.
Yeah,
and like
she's like suicidal.
Depressed. Yeah, so it's like all of these characters are kind of on this path of self-destruction that leads them to the Shimmer, and then the Shimmer amplifies those feelings tenfold, and a lot of them, as we've described, don't make it out of there, other than Natalie Portman.
That makes sense.
So yeah, and I think like Oscar Isaac's character, the reason he did the phosphorus grenade thing, I mean, by the time he got in there, he like I said, those feelings of self-destruction and depression amplified themselves, and like then he's all of a sudden he's not even sure who he is like physically anymore. Like he saw his friend is like moving inside. It's like, I'm changing. I don't even know who I am anymore. Like my wife cheats on me. Like my marriage is a sham. I love her, but how could she do this to me? Like he's just having a complete breakdown and in the Shimmer because of everything that's going on. And he chooses to kill himself, and then he lets this new version of himself go to his wife. Which I have a theory about that, and also Lena's character. But I wanted to say that the whole like message of the movie is kind of like, okay, self-destruction to the point that you are actually harming yourself is not good.
Yeah.
However, you can use the that like not like exactly self-destruction, but like, you know, like maybe like rebuilding yourself into something new.
Kind of like how Natalie Portman, I think, had kind of like a self-actualizing moment at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Where she's like, you have to reckon, like, that's why I feel like there was like a clone of her, because it was like, you have to recognize those self-destructive tendencies in
that makes sense.
Yourself, and then, but from then you can build yourself up back new and like kind of have a better life and like kind of move on past those kind of feelings.
Right.
And the characters that die and don't make it to the end, they can't overcome those feelings. Like Jennifer Jason Leigh, the cancer thing gets to her. She explodes into light for some reason. You know, like all the characters get killed by like a freakish bear. Tessa Thompson turns into a flower lady. So that's what I feel like is at the end. I feel like her cells and stuff are like, they're just like something new, like something fresh. And I think
it's one like of the start.
Right. And one of the characters is at the end, the Benedict Wong character. I don't quite remember his name, but he asks her like at the very end, like, this thing was trying to destroy everything. It was horrible. And she's like, and then Natalie Portman says, no, it was building something new.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So like at the end, when like you see the shimmers in both of their eyes, they're both new people. They both have a fresh start. They're both past the self-destructive tendencies. You know, that's what I took from it, at least. Thinking about it.
That's really smart. That's kind of where I was at. I was thinking more on terms as what the creature or kind of what the shimmer was.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned earlier that Natalie Portman says the only human flaw is that we were kind of designed to die. Like, we only have our cells and they will fade away. Which is why we turn old instead of creating new ones. So basically you could assume that the shimmer and that creature was almost like the perfect species because it would never die. It only multiplies cells, so that way nothing really dies, and it's almost like assimilates everything into one.
That makes sense, and that ties in a lot with the theme of
and that ties in with exactly what you said.
Yeah. Or even our bodies are designed at a molecular level to self-destruct.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, like we're designed to do that, both like physically and psychologically.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's depressing, but at least it's kind of like a positive spin on it.
Yeah, I feel like people take the ending to be too like dark and dour. Yeah, like it's like evil that the alien won or whatever.
You know what?
It didn't really win.
You know what this kind of is? And this was the vibe I got from when the alien was burning. It gave me very under the skin vibes.
Oh, yeah.
In the end.
Yeah.
Where the alien is like, what the fuck? You know? Like, just when I thought I had it figured out, just when I thought things were going good, you know, I got these humans. I'm on their level. And then humans go and fuck it up for their own selfish reasons. That was something else I kind of got from it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Oh.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like I felt very bad for the alien or whatever it was.
Whatever it was.
Because it seemed to like take on her self-destructive tendencies at the end. Where like it's literally like it like I might be like reading too much into this.
No,
like,
I think you're absolutely correct because it was destroying everything.
Yeah, it was like you know Natalie Portman basically she destroyed her home. She self-destructed her home by like cheating on her husband.
Yeah.
And then the alien was literally doing that at the end when it was like burning down its own home. And like I felt like it was just trying to copy her in every way, even if it was self-destructive.
Yeah. It's like, oh, humans do this? All right. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I just felt it felt so innocent to me, and it was like it was just copying her, and was like, oh, that's kind of sad.
If only they brought a therapist with them.
Yes, they needed one.
They sit him down in a chair, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's very smart, Brad. Very smart.
Yeah, I don't know what Stalker is like, but I definitely feel like is Stalker as like surreal as this movie gets at the end? Like,
no.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Not as like visually surreal.
Oh, okay.
But I would say psychologically surreal.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I would say what Stalker is about is kind of why are we here? Why are we existing? Why are we going on? You know, is it for art? Is it the pursuit of science, the betterment of society? Is it our spiritualization to faith or our connection to the earth? And it's essentially all these men coming together and realizing that all of them are fucking wrong or right, and they don't know, and they have to live with that.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But it does very similarly. It's okay. Stalker is very, I wouldn't say paced like this movie, but as far as like beats go, of like, we are a team with all of our own individual backgrounds and motives. We are going into this very mysterious place. We need to get to this objective that we do not know what it is. And when we get there, we do not know what will happen. And when we get out, we do not know what is going to happen.
Oh, okay.
So it is very similar, I think, plot-wise. But Annihilation kind of goes off a bit. It kind of pops off.
It'd be popping off.
It'd be popping off, yeah.
With doppelganger clones.
Yeah, doppelgangers and shit. But yeah. I mean, I love anything with that. I like the aspect of stuff like the Zone and the Shimmer. I think that shit is so cool.
Yeah. It is really cool. It's always like it's always scary to me, the idea of
because it's unexplainable.
Like yeah.
It's too big.
Right.
And that's exactly what like Stalker is. They're even asked him like, okay, well, what are the traps? And the Stalker's like, I don't know, dude. They're like, what do you mean you don't know? He's like, dude, I couldn't tell you. They're like, what the fuck? You're leading us. And he's like, yeah, I mean, like, sometimes you're going down a hallway and you're in a different hallway, you know? You know, he's just like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know where it is. And they're like, okay. So, and that's like cool. Like, there's a mystery around the Zone that,
right.
And it's crazy because you don't know, you know, your characters don't really understand it either. So you don't know what to expect. There's just constant dread around everything. And it's great. And that this Annihilation, I think, harnesses that, especially when they're exploring around.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that mystery aspect is what really draws you in. Because it's like such a weird and beautiful kind of world in the Shimmer. Yeah. It's like beautiful and horrifying at the same time.
It's like another world.
Yeah. It's just It's just great. It's a great movie.
This is getting your recommendation.
Yes, please go watch this movie. It failed at the box office. The least you can do is rent it on Amazon for $2.
Buy the Blu-ray.
Yeah, you would buy
support
the Blu-ray.
physical media.
Yes, please.
All right. Well, that's Annihilation. We both like it a lot. If you want to see cool body horror, you want to see monster bears. Also, we forgot to mention monster alligator as well.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
a big
monster
mutant
alligator. Yeah, pretty early on.
He's cool. If you're a gator head, you got gators. So, all right. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.